I kind of just wanted to keep painting and learning and painting and learning. And I've never felt that way about something before, as cheesy as it sounds. It was like a click in my brain. And then I realized that, okay, I think if this is something that I can sustain myself with, then this is what I should go and seek out. People like to ask you questions when you're on a ladder. And I'll get questions like, you know, huh? You can make money from this? How much? Like what are you doing? Why would you do this? Like, why didn't you just print it? I'm Charmaine, I'm a sign painter, and I practice both traditional sign painting and gold leaf gilding. I go by the name of Old World Charm, and I've been painting for 11 years now. It was only in 2023, though, that I went full-time with my sign painting. A lot of the work I've been doing right now is on-site. Starting off in the studio, getting all my materials ready, getting all my patterns ready, getting all my paint ready, my tools, getting that set up, and then heading down to my client's work site. I like painting on walls, and I like the sun. And I think when you're outdoors as well, people get to see what you're doing, and it helps them understand. I paint on glass, wood, and concrete. So I guess in 1 month, I could be doing all three things. I would clean the glass at least twice, back and front. If your glass is not perfectly clean, there's going to be impurities in the glass, in your window cleaner, in the water that they sprayed on the glass, and that's going to show up in your gold. It's going to make your gold kind of murky, or your paint won't stick. The most important step. So maybe I can show you that. So I'm just going to show you a random glass panel. Actually, sometimes the older the glass, the better, because it's got a bit of bite in it. Like the scratches create a bit of bite, and that allows the paint and the gold to stick onto the glass a bit better. I use a lot of enamel and gold leaf. With sign painting, we use different kind of brushes with kind of really long hairs so that it carries a lot of paint as you drag so that you can get a full stroke, which you need for pulling lines, letters. And that also works really nicely with enamel because enamel's got a nice opacity to it, a nice flow. A lot of the times that you paint, your brush is really nice and sharp and flat so that you can get into the edges and get into the corners of your letters that you need to paint. And then you kind of pull it down. So with gold leaf, it's essentially gold that's been beaten down into really, really thin sheets. And it's quite a finicky application if you're not used to it, because it's so delicate. If the wind blows and things like that, it just kind of flies away. I did this during a workshop as well. I managed to achieve quite a lot of things that I've never done before. I kind of like finger blended from the back. I'll show you what the back looks like. The back looks crazy, but I actually really like the back. So you've got like a few colors going, and when it's wet, use your finger and you blend it while you're looking at the front, which is actually a little bit challenging, and I was quite happy with the result. It's really subtle, but I've actually got like a lighter gold here, and then you've got a darker gold here, so it's kind of like a gradient blend. It's and that was water gilded, so you get a reflective mirror effect. Yeah, that was the first time I've ever done that. And then I put some mother of pearl in here too. Water gilding is a process of gilding where you would use a mixture of gelatin to apply sheets of gold leaf onto your glass from the back, all of which you probably can't see right now. So I've sealed it in to protect it with that's the black that goes on. And then whereas this is oil gilding, which produces a matte effect. So two completely different techniques going on here. It could be the same kind of gold, but you can tell that it's a completely different result. For gilding, especially gold leaf gilding, for me personally, I could not have learned it from a book. I think that's something that you kind of need a mentor with you to troubleshoot it with you to show you how the process goes. And no, I don't think they teach that anymore. Not commonly, at least. You have to kind of go and especially seek it out and look for these people and want to learn. The first time I learned to gild, it was after I saw a gold sign in a cafe in a suburb called Newtown. And I just kept staring at it because it's gold on glass, reflective, super shiny, but I couldn't figure out how do you mirror a glass with gold? And then I hunted down who the person was who painted it, and it turns out that all his work was all over my suburb as well in Surrey Hills. So things started to connect for me, and then I found out whether he's giving any lessons. He wasn't, but I learned from some other guy and eventually got connected with everybody else. So I was doing my full-time job, and then I would be painting till like 5 a.m. sometimes, but also never feeling like, oh my gosh, I hate this, I can't wait to be done, like, when can I go home? When I was painting then, it's more like, why is time passing so quickly? I've got so much to do. I kind of just wanted to keep painting and learning and painting and learning. And I've never felt that way about something before, as cheesy as it sounds. It was like a click in my brain. And then I realized that, okay, I think if this is something that I can sustain myself with, then this is what I should go and seek out. I think when you find something like that, then you should probably keep going at it. My motto kind of thing is that old is gold. Most of the time that I was in Sydney, I was living in the eastern suburbs. I guess they were kind of like hipster suburbs at the time. What I noticed are the old signs that would be retained in the neighborhood. This sign is bubbling, it's peeling, it's hanging on, like, it's got like, you can see the layers behind it, you can see the layers in front of it, but it's not painted over because it's part of the building's heritage. If they ever do paint it, they give it like a relift to like retain that signage. They don't scrape it out and do like something new, you know? So yeah, I think it was that texture, the human element, the aging, the layering, the patina that I was drawn to. It's quite difficult to replicate age, I suppose, naturally. I think the age kind of tells a story and kind of shows what came before. Yeah, I'm not really into shiny new things. I like the feeling of not knowing how to get there. I like the challenge of not knowing how to recreate something. So I'll study it really, really close and use whatever I have to try and replicate it. And then coupled with the fact that when you really do learn the craft, there's quite a lot of areas that you can get really obsessed about, and that also really spoke to me. If you go through like my camera roll and my phone, you're gonna see a lot of like random things that I take photos of, like a pipe dripping or some broken thing in the middle of nowhere with like moss coming out of it, because I want to recreate that look. I think when I started out, I was really like quite crazy about making everything look like it was printed. I think I just wanted like it to be perfect. But now, as I've painted for a longer time, I really like seeing the human error, I suppose, so that people know it's painted by hand, because that's what got my attention to begin with, right? So I think that's kind of something that I'm looking to harness in my work right now. The sign behind you actually is one of the first few signs I painted. I cringe looking at it because I did it so badly, but it's kind of cute now, you know? Yeah, like that I thought I was doing it right back then, but so you just keep getting better. Just a couple days ago, painting a phrase, and I was squatting down and looking at the wall. The wall is like, the painting is about 30 cm off the wall, and I was squatting down and like making sure everything was perfect. And then after a while, I just like stood back, and which is what you would do on a bigger piece. And I'm like, nobody's gonna squat here and look at my one hair of a millimeter that wasn't as perfect as the next one. So it has taught me to kind of step away and like, okay, look at the bigger picture, relax, you're just being really intense. It's okay, it's a painting, right? It's not supposed to be perfect. So yeah, I think working on bigger stuff has taught me to loosen up a bit. Sign painting is a trade. It's no different from, like, say, anybody who uses their hands, really. I think it used to be a trade, a fading trade right now. But I like people to know that the amount of craftsmanship involved in it and the amount of training it takes, the amount of failure involved. They teach a mantra that you can never be too good. So there's no, like, ceiling to your growth, to your learning, to how far you can push it. It's not just about, like, the fine, pretty work that you can produce, right? But I think when you have a sign painted, there's an element of it being actually really, really sustainable. If I print a sign right now, right, and we leave it out in the sun in Singapore's climate for 1-2 years, it's eventually going to fade, it's going to peel, especially with vinyl. It's just not going to stand the test of time. You kind of have to remove the whole thing and replace the whole thing. But if I'm going to paint something for you and say someone bashes into part of it, I could just come in and retouch that very specific part. And a sign ages with your business, you know? There are times when I meet clients who say, I don't really know how long my business is gonna be here, so I'm not too sure if I wanna invest in a sign. But I think that when you get a sign painted also, it shows that you have confidence that your business is going to be there. There's this phrase that says, a business with no sign is a sign of no business. I think that's quite meaningful. I see myself as a tradesperson, as a craftsperson who is just going to keep trying to make good, honest work. Take our time to make stuff. I think we need to make stuff that's, like, here to stay. With every sign I paint, I hope that it's gonna stay there for like 100 years. So I take all those processes right to the way that I seal it and I protect it, hoping that it's gonna be there for a long time. I think people are kind of understanding that in this day and age, everything going so quickly, if you can stop and take your time to make something, then I think people are understanding that there's actual meaning behind that. I think it's important and sometimes doesn't really exist so much in Singapore is sharing. Sharing, like, nobody's going to break your rice bowl by sharing. You're probably all collectively gonna get better if you kind of get together and exchange, like, secrets and skills. In order for me to have learned this, I would have relied on people to share that craft with me too. I'm hoping that the signs I paint are still gonna be around. Because my signs are kind of emulating a time that has passed, when people look at my work in the future, it's going to remind them of this time when there was a revival of the past. So it's kind of like, I think that could be quite interesting.